I'm just going to do one more little thing. I've been watching my videos and a lot of them is will be nonsense and fall apart. But essentially, I don't have any um, thing about this concept of being owned. Started talking about it, but it's such an odd thing to discuss that when I was looking at what I was saying, I was thinking, look, just say that, and I would make it clearer. This was I could edit it, but I'm not going to do that. But 2 points that I sort of picked up on, if I can remember the two of them. One of the other ones is when with regards to family and how you're owned by a family. Quite often, you can't get up when you want. You're controlled by the mechanisms of the family. So there is ownership there and control. Whether or not, even if it's ambitions, you might have spouses that do not really want you to fulfill your ambitions in life, to advance, all sorts of things. They might not want you to do things because they're afraid for you, that they know you might fail, and that they're thinking for the best. So that was another thing, because I was just sort of thinking, I mean, a lot of people probably couldn't sit here all night talking a load of crap onto the YouTubes. Me being totally free, and I can do that. I talk absolute crap for as long as I want. I mean, that's the difference. So I mean, it's fantastic. So and if you marry me, I can talk crap like this to you all the time. But the other thing that I was thinking about was people might say, "Well, you're so free." It's free. I'm not free. No one is inherently free. Millionaires could be. Freedom is, to be quite honest, is in its own right a bit of an abstract concept, because you're freest the most when you're probably the most contained. Like when you're a child, and you can go and explore the world. You're probably freer then than you are at all. And a lot of people, they seek their childhood times again, one way or another. Mm. Tramps and things just idling by, people that allow themselves to be institutionalized, because it's easier and it allows a little more freedom. But I mean, essentially, the bottom line with me, just to sort of not so much give the game away, but I'm not free because basically I have a lot of customers. And that's how I work. That's how I earn my living. And the sum total of them, and it's real, you start losing them. You say, well, why did I lose you? Why did I lose that customer? And essentially, it's not anything to do with what you do, because what I do is pretty good. It's, in a large extent, the fact that I harness freedom. I mean, I have had people, and I don't tell people that I have a house in Florida. I just don't tell people anymore, because they think, I mean, you can see the place. You try telling them, but it doesn't matter. They just think, oh, you must be doing so much better. And their own inherent hatred of success or freedom, or whatever, it actually, they stop it. I used to drive a Jeep Cherokee, and it was probably one of, not so much the biggest mistakes, but it was probably a mistake. Because when people saw me, and I used to cycle everywhere because I was unemployed for years. I used to cycle everywhere on my bike, and I thought, whenever I get a job, the first thing I'm going to do is buy myself one of those Jeep Cherokees, a big chunky car. There's more to the story than that, but that was pretty much how I thought. And when I got a job, I bought one. But the thing is, as soon as you get one of those, people look at you differently. And it's not got anything to do with freedom, but people, they will never admit it. They'll never say, oh, because of this, because of that. But the intricate structure of society breeds contempt and hatred for success. This is what I call bus stop mentality. You'll sit in a bus stop and there'll be blah, 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 blah. Oh, everyone else has to do that, blah, blah, blah. And they're talking about everyone else has to live in flats, everyone else has to sort of deal with idiots, multicultural world. Everyone else has to put up with this, everyone else, it's bus stop mentality, that's what I call it. And they'll say, then it leads on to, why should they have this? We don't have that. And these are people that have never fought or striven for any degree of freedom. And from that level, you'll find almost the biggest resistance to anyone, any determination to strive for freedom. Even from the very basics of saying, I want to get a family. That's why I don't have a family, and I'm not going to help you get one. Well, I'm not going to help you meet a girl. They're not going to do that. They're going to help you do things that don't help you with that objective. They're going to maybe, help you spend your money. These are not things that I'm going to talk to them necessarily directly about now, but what I'm saying is, from my point of view, there is, although it's quite abstract, if you were to look at, say, from another angle, let's supposing I was a plumber, and I had some customers that use me quite a lot. Well, I'd be doing quite well, maybe got 25, 50 customers that maybe call me out once every year or two. Whatever, I don't know how plumbing industry works, but if they suddenly realise that you were, say, somewhere else in Florida on the beach, they might say, oh, no, I'm not going to phone that bloke up, he's doing too well. And they don't think of it just like that, but it's inherent, it's subliminal. Now you get some people that they too have a house in France, or they're doing something that is the other end of the way the cookie crumbles, and they want to help you because you're pushing it, you're doing things that they would consider aspirational, maybe things that they want for their children. But there are other people, and I've had it, and they're just, the things that I do are pretty exceptional. It's a bit like, I had one customer recently, and let's go back to the plumbing analogy. I put in fantastic plumbing, central heating, all, whatever the best is. And then I turned around and said, oh, do you want me to come around and do the, the, I don't know, what's the boiler thing you do? You've got to do the boiler once a year, haven't you? You want to come around and do the check, the maintenance or whatever, because it's a pretty plush system. And they'll say, oh, no. I said, well, what are you going to do? No, we're going in another direction now. I've got my mate to do it. Well, you can't get your mate to do it because you've got to have, they've got to be registered. No, my cousin's doing it. That's it. And then they'll ask you for things like, they want their documents back, something like that. And you realise that the sum total of what they're actually doing is they're not doing business with you anymore, because they're the sort of people that probably got criminal records and can't leave the country. Their industry is festooned with the sort of people that essentially are the complete opposite of me. So I don't want to be mean, but it doesn't take too much to sort of figure out what is the complete opposite of me. And it's those sorts of people that would then suddenly say, oh man, that bloke, he's obviously earning too much because he spends half his time in Florida sat on the beach. And so there are constraints, and everyone is controlled. If all my customers suddenly said, oh no, we're going somewhere else now, then I would actually not have the degree of freedom that I have, and I would then have to go and seek employment, which, to be quite honest, is a pretty scary thing. But at the same time, life is pretty dynamic, and it probably wouldn't make too much of a dent on me, especially at my elderly age. Things are pretty unstable, but things are not going to go so far that it's going to be a massive problem. The bottom line is I haven't got nothing to lose. really. This place is £8,000, but you know, they probably couldn't take it away from me, even if they tried. So it's not as simple as that, because I've got to be out here to do the garden. But that's just one little thing that is, it's just a complication. To sort of maintain being out here, and this is just, I don't even know why I'm talking about this, but this is just an aside. Probably costs about £2,000 a year, which even if I was at the bottom of the bottom, I could probably just about manage. But anyway, that's all beside. The point is, everyone has some sort of control of ownership. Some people have a little more security in that regards than others. But yeah, so I mean that was all I really wanted to say. I sort of feel a bit of a loss there, because it's sort of talking about myself. But essentially, I think the last one I want to end up on here, because I don't want to end up on that note, because I feel a bit grim about that whole idea of going out of business and losing everything, and I think it's not going to happen as far as I'm concerned. But you can't prove that. But the thing that I just wanted to maybe finish up on a different note, is a lot of it is not so much the doing, it's the striving. And this is why I'm quite content with absolutely everything in my life. People might think, oh, you sad wanker, sat there on your own year after year, wishing you had a girlfriend. And the fact of the matter is, I don't think that at all. To some extent, I'm actually beginning to become a little more the opinion that women are more trouble than they're worth, being scatty-brained, useless, and without any major merit. I mean, the only thing women really, as far as I'm concerned, have to offer, and this is where I have a big disagreement with the way society is structured, is their sexuality. I mean, I'm not even going to say that they are sex objects, but historically, women used to live in the kitchen. And like I say, when you start reading back to how things were in the 1830s, there were reasons, because men are tough. And men used to, we've come into a society now where the government is enforcing a degree of, and I haven't really focused too much on this, a degree of feminism where, women are as equal, and they're not. It doesn't mean that women can't be dominant, and it doesn't mean that they don't have any value, but as far as I'm concerned, when it comes down to issues of sexuality, the only thing that women have to offer is their sexuality. Now, I'm a historian. I do a lot of historic work, writing, and it's the sort of thing that a lot of women can become pretty good at. And I'm not trying to say that women cannot excel or achieve, or don't deserve, the same opportunity to excel and achieve. But if you were to come up to me in my field of history and try and impress me, you'd have to work really hard, man or woman, because the things that I do, I'm pretty much about as good as it gets within my own fields. Now, I always appreciate someone that can talk knowledgeably about anything. For example, if you wanted to impress me, you would have a full, fluid understanding of the heraldry of the United Kingdom, or in other words, be able to, tell me who the king or queen of England was at any given time, going backwards or forwards. I can't. That's what I'm trying to do. One of the things I'm trying to do, but it's not important for what I do. But it's pretty useful to understand that maybe Queen Victoria ruled from about 1840 to maybe 1902. I don't know. I'm guessing at my date. And then it was Edward, and then there was a few other people, but Elizabeth came in about 42, and she's been reigning ever since. And I can't remember myself, but it goes back to the Saxon kings and who was before Victoria, and the Edwardians and the Edwards and the Richards, and the Edward Henrys, and the houses of Plantagenet or whatever, the Victoria and the German dynasties, and all that stuff. I've got just a little touch of what's happening, but if you were to come to me with that, I'd be impressed. If not, but male or female, they could probably both impress me at the same rate. So it's not a degree of sexuality, but if you were to sort of come into my life, this is why it has to be a cute, yummy girl, and you didn't have the cute yumminess, you would not have anything to offer me. Now, that's all beside a secondary issue. I just touching on that. I think what I was trying to really just get to is the striving for freedom. Now, as I said, this focusing on concentrating like that, it just makes it all sound so pompous, because really, what is freedom? Like I say, I mean, you're free when you're a child. There's no such thing. Oh, I'm absolutely free. I mean, there is no such thing. The cats outside my house are free, and they're probably going to die a lot before their time because they don't eat properly. I feed them. I have sympathy for them because they don't like humans. I love people. I love things like that don't like humans. As far as those cats are concerned, they live in a world that doesn't have humans, because as soon as a human goes near, they relocate to a place where there are no humans. So 95% of the cat's time is human free. It's a small thing, but they're free. But are they? They're going to die young. Do they really get to do anything? I mean, surely if they succumb to my rule, I could take them to the beach. We could have a great time. We could go dancing. I mean, they could, instead of looking petrified every time they hear something, they could live in comfort. What is freedom? It is, but the point I'm trying to get to, just as a final conclusion and a little high note, is that I do strive. You see, that's a big thing, and a lot of people just don't even like that striving, because it acknowledges a lack of, it acknowledges a deficiency in another area. I mean, if you're trying to get away from England, it makes English people feel as though England must be a shithole, which it is. And so I don't tell people anymore about anything like that. And like I say, I used to have a Jeep Cherokee, and I don't now. I bought one of these. I call it I call it an idiot car. And because when I drive my Jeep Cherokee, I'm always getting stuck behind these idiot cars. But these idiot cars are generally driven by idiots. Now, I'm actually quite a good driver, and I've seen, you see, it's not just that I'm a narcissist. I think I'm perfect, because I'm not. But I've seen people like me driving these idiot cars, and like I say, everything I do is good. When I'm driving this idiot car, I actually drive it pretty well. Not so much that I'm faster or better, it's just I don't look like an idiot. Like I say, I've seen people that are of my caliber, young, sort of, fairly free and easy sort of looking men, not in a gay sense. They look quite powerful, because I look quite powerful, which is one of my problems. People assume I'm powerful, but I'm not really. But I drive this idiot car, and so I can pull up at clients, customers, friends, people, and they don't feel offended because I've got an idiot car. Whereas before, when I had the Jeep Cherokee, they said, "Oh, Jeep Cherokee, I mean, what do they do? Are they half their life unemployed? Are they struggling with a small business, trying to be a plumber? Are they working in a dead end job that they hate? Or they're doing a job where they're trying to pretend they're doing better than they are, and for them, getting a Jeep Cherokee would be like giving themselves a promotion. They couldn't do it within the confines of their own prison. So all I'm saying is that, well, I'm saying a couple of things there now, but what I'm trying to focus is on the benefits of striving to be free, and what I have done, and this is almost a secret, coming to Florida and buying a house in Florida is, from my point of view, I don't know why I'm talking about all this stuff now, but it's sort of maybe self-expression, but to me, symbolises and effectualises everything that I've striven to do in regards to the attainment of freedom, because people don't strive to do it. if the place costs £8,000, I could have done that on a credit card. Um, it costs a little bit to come out here, but you know, I live frugally, drinking bottles of water and drinking milk when I'm rich. But it's the striving, I think, that is important and required. And you know, and I mean, the thing is, in England, you can't do that. You can't strive. Anyone that strives for that, for something else, other than what the government gives them, is actually almost a terrorist. You know, they almost classify it as treason. You know, and the thing is, I'm never going to leave my home country, England. You know, I'm English and I'm going to stay there. But you know, there is a definite backlash of negativity. You know, I mean, I've had so many problems. I could run through them. You know, where you think, well, that's not a chance. If you, I mean, I don't want to get onto that. You know, the whole concept of chance, because this goes into what I consider to be conspiracy nut. Yeah, I mean, but this whole concept of freedom and being owned is just sort of like, you know, a lot of people can sort of say, well, you know, I can see what you're saying, and you know, yeah, there's some truth there, and there's not some truth. I mean, you know, you get yourself a nice family, settle down. You know, you're as free as, you know, all your life's things. You know, I mean, but it's the striving for it, I think, is to some extent key. And you know, they don't want it. I mean, they don't want people knowing that you could leave the country. I mean, you know, it's simple little things like you could buy a big house in France, and this is not even in another continent. This is France. This is like 30 minutes drive from Dover for £40,000, £30,000. You can start getting down in Normandy for about £10,000, £15,000. And that's because the French government have actually historically not allowed people, they're controlled, they've done the right thing. They've acted as a government should, and now they're not doing it anymore, but they were. But they never allowed people to have a mortgage that was more than 3 times their wages. And now what that meant is if the average wage was 20,000, the average house was 60,000. Well, in England, the average house is like 250,000, 260,000, which is sort of like about 5 or 6 times more than France. So houses in England are 5 or 6 times more expensive than in France. Therefore, houses in France are 5 times more cheaper than in England. But they don't want, you know, in theory, you should have this massive flux of English people going to France and just living there. And the thing is, the fact of the matter is, they are. That's exactly what's happening. But most people that actually do it are actually quite rich. The road that I have trodden, essentially, is the road of the poor person. And so, you know, if you're looking at this, quite often I realise that the last person ever reading anything that I ever write, especially on my website or my YouTube videos, all the 5 or 6 people that actually look at it, I mean, who's going to actually get through to this stage of the video? No one. No one. I mean, I don't know why I even worry about what I say and what it means, because no one's going to watch it. I enjoy doing it. But the bottom line is, in theory, all the working class people of England should be going, sod it, I'm going to go and live in Florida. I've got £8,000. I had the choice. I was thinking to myself, what do I want to do? I really fancy doing something to get out of the house, because I'm always stuck in the house. I started looking at getting a boat. To get a boat in the marina, minimum of, I think I was looking at about £7,000, and that is about, at the time, about, you know, it was pretty much $15,000. Wasn't, it was less than that, wasn't, you know, but it was, but the thing is, when you actually took into account all the other fees, £2,000 a year mooring fees, it's exactly the same as buying a boat. So I have the choice about buying a boat on the Thames, and the thing is, it's not free. You've got to pay petrol, which is expensive, to just drive up and down the Thames, and that's going to get boring after a while, because the Thames is just one long line of locks. You know, I mean, I mean, all I do is run up and down the beach. It's the same thing, but you know, it doesn't actually cost me a huge amount to do that. I mean, that's all arguable. But the thing, all I was doing is looking for a leisure activity, and I could have bought a boat. The whole idea of getting out of the house every now and then, or I bought a house in Florida. The thing is, you got to realise a lot of the rich people have been doing it for years. They come over here, it's hard to actually think of how many rich people in England, movie stars or whatever, actually still live in England. They don't. I mean, they all move out to California, New York. I mean, there's countless numbers of celebrities live in America. They don't live in England anymore. They leave. Anyone with any money, any sense, leaves, and it's understandable because England is a crap hole. But the other end of the spectrum, like I was talking about, the bottom of the equation, the people that are at the bottom, that keep all the people at the top feeling like they're at the top, if they started to leave as well, because they realised that they could get a place. Now the thing is, you can't just move to America, but I mean, I have problems because I can't look at anyone that doesn't look like a bloody porn star. So, but I could, in theory, marry someone out here. I could walk down the street and I could probably find someone fat and ugly, and if I could somehow compromise myself, I could probably marry them. Even if they knew I was marrying them for citizenship, they would probably say, as long as I fucking do whatever sexually depraved things that fat people want to do to me, or whatever social, requirements. Sometimes I go out on the beach and I look at elderly women and I think, could I do it? I mean, I wouldn't never dream of doing it, but I sort of think, I mean, in theory, I'm not ancient. Maybe maybe her husband's died. I could go out there. Could I do that? Could I somehow compromise my integrity to marry an elderly American woman so I could come and live out here? And the bottom line is no, I couldn't. But what I'm trying to get to is, as English people, you can't just come out and live here. But as English people, sick to death of England, you could buy this place, and I mean, I'm on my own, so I have to do it my way. But you could have, your extended family coming out here once a week. I mean, if you might have 52 relatives, but it probably, you could have your wife come out here with your kids for 2 or 3 weeks. If it was just you working. I mean, once the place is bought, they just, you could make something more of it. Even by being a tourist, because I mean, in theory, and I never do this because I never try to abuse the system, but you could come out here and um, you could you could live here for 3 months. You go home, you get an extra flight back, come here for another 3 months. You can do that. Now there are tax implications, and the immigration don't like it, but I don't do it. But in theory, you could do that, or but it gives you a lot of flexibility. Now, you might, some people it's just not convenient. But in theory, you could manage it in some regard because you always have some weeks holiday, some sick leave. You could even manage extended weekends. You could leave on a Thursday, take the Friday off, get here Saturday, Sunday, come back Monday, go to work on Tuesday. 2 days holiday, strategically placed. If you've got 20 holidays, you can do it 10 times a year. I mean, you could do it if you were poor. You obviously 10 times a flight is quite a lot of money. You might not want to do it. I mean, I only come out here 3 or 4 times a year. And that's expensive enough. But the bottom line, what I'm trying to say is the striving. I mean, you got to. I think this is. I'm not even talking about anything in particular. I'm just trying to talk about striving and maybe even blowing my own trumpet. But I think in the state of play, that whole concept of just trying to break free from essentially an evil totalitarian police state is something that is almost like, I don't know, duty. I mean, You might think, oh God, well, I couldn't do that, but there are things that you can do, and people don't. I think this comes back down to the first thing that I said when I did some of these videos about 6 hours ago in the back garden, was that people don't know, and this is the perfect note to leave off because this is exactly where I started. People don't know that they're not free. I think this is it's all very in the air and difficult to describe, but people don't know that they're not free, and they think they're free because they get up and think, oh yeah, today I'm going to go and watch the football. Oh, today I'm going to go down the pub and get drunk. Oh, today I'm going to go out and shag the missus. Whatever. I mean, they think they're free, but they don't realise that the decisions, and this is another video, how impulses get into the head. It's like, if you start saying it's telepathy, they think you're mad. But you've got to understand, where do these impulses come for doing certain things? Now, you could say that the impulses that drove me here were not my own, but I think they were. And I always take, the credit for my own actions. But a lot of people don't realise what they could do and how they could make their own lives better. And that's what it comes down to. A lot of girls, a lot of cute, yummy girls, they don't realise that they are actually in a structured prison that they can't leave. But they could just phone me up, and you sort of think, oh, it makes me sound as though I'm saving the world. And I'm not. I'm just trying to think of the angles that I have that are, um, in my favour. But I mean, people, they're sort of think, oh, that bloke, look, he's so scruffy, his hair's rubbish, his manky skin complexion, his wallpaper is rubbish. All these things can be changed, but the bottom line is, a lot of girls, cute, yummy girls, and they accept this for their whole lives, and I shouldn't really say it's just cute, yummy girls, but they live in flats, and they don't know what the soil feels like. They don't know a lot of things because they live in flats. They live in a built environment, and they take a constructed transport, a bus, a tube, a train, a car. They never leave anything that's natural. They never leave anything that's artificial, sorry. I mean, they go from their centrally heated apartment into their air-conditioned car to their air-conditioned point of employment and back. Now, I'm not saying everyone should go out and do a wilderness trek, but what you'll have here, multidimensionally, is what we call the American dream. It's a house which is completely detached, so there's no neighbours. They've tried, the government, no neighbours, could walk all the way around it, 50 feet by 100 feet, big garden. I can plant things and they grow, lots of rooms, do what I want, pile rubbish up on the floor like I want, let mice run around. I kill the cockroaches. There's lots of cockroach things down. I don't like cockroaches, man. They creep me out. They're real fast. They'll creep all over you as well. But you see, and these cute young girls, they don't realise that they can't make that life choice. They can't marry Mr. Cute. Say, my God, I saw your video. I watched all of it. It was so boring. But at the end of it, I just believed. And I thought, Mr. Cute, the sun shines out of your arse. Well, you probably wouldn't say that, but that's the theory. And you could say, I'm really cute and yummy, and I want to clean your house and make you cups of tea whenever you ask for them. That's what I need. And bear me 10 children. This is why you need to be young, and preferably more of you, 2 or 3 of you, because I'm not, not going to live forever. And but yeah, so they don't realise, what it takes. A lot of people don't realise that they don't have the ability to make those choices. And I think one of the biggest ties, one of the biggest artificial constraints is the concept of friends. A lot of these people, as I was talking earlier about parties, I shouldn't really say just about that, because sometimes it's just social networks, social constructs. You have some friends, you don't even have parties, you meet them at the pub, you meet them after work at a football club. They're the people that you know from childhood. All these people build up this thing that artificially, oh, I can't do that, my friends would miss me. Well, I mean, your friends probably wouldn't miss you. Life goes on, and to some extent, one of the greatest experiences in life is to reflect on past. And one of the best things is to know people and then to have them go, and then to have only good memories of them. Because as time goes on, and this is a very strange thing to say, but for some people, and it's more appropriate for musicians, like Elvis Presley, for some people the best thing that they could do for their careers is die. Because then you only have a nostalgic memory of the good times. You don't get to watch them grow up to be sad old twats. I mean, how many rock stars, famous people, have grown up to be disappointingly boring, mundane? They shone, and then they went on, and I mean, that's all load of bollocks. I don't know what I'm talking about now, but yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that, I think. One thing I'm going to try and do is it still recording, I wonder? Yeah, it's still recording. What I'm going to try and do, I'm going to see if the possum's out here, because I nearly got it the other time. It was out there, really quiet. Now that's a little cat. It's my favourite cat. And can you hear that squeaking? It's gone. That's the mice. But that cat, it just sort of lives there. I think it's pregnant. You hear the mice? You can hear the crickets. But if it spotted me, it would run away, even through the window. Every year, every time I come out here, there's a different bunch of cats. Sometimes they're the same ones. Now I think those ones I've seen before, but they get run over and they die. They don't live that long. And they breed. Like, I mean, last time I was out here, there were at least 4 kittens, and I think I only see one of them left. They move on, and they're mostly always scared. And but this time, now before last time I was here, basically I've had about 10 cats out there at one time, and they will all run away. The last time I was here, there was one cat, and it was obviously I call a house cat because it was much bigger and obviously been well fed. And these are street cats. They're as skinny as they get. I mean, the food that I'm giving them, I mean, they must feel like they're having a feast. Because what you've got to understand with these cats is it takes a lot of food to feed them naturally, properly, and they don't get the opportunity to get that food. I mean, especially these days with bins being the way they are, with the big plastic lids, they can't get into the food. So they actually They really don't have any food. There's no one feeding them. They nick dog food and other food. You know, they know where the food's being put out, and they try that. But so will the other cats, and so are the animals that live there. But one thing they do eat is lizards. But there's only so many lizards that they can catch in one day. You know, a lizard is like a sort of pretzel. You know, I mean, they need probably to get the equivalent of what they're getting out there in one meal. They probably need to catch 10 of them. And that's a whole day's food. So what they do, I mean, I'm feeding them, and they spend sort of 10 hours looking for food. They sleep for 10 hours, which, you know, I mean, I'm giving them comfort. But the cats were basically they all run away. But this time, there's one little cat. I mean, I've had all sorts of adventures with cats. They get into the house, and from experience, you don't really, you sort of think, oh, I'll try and get it, you know, and make friends of it and teach you that humans are quite nice. But no, there's no way. You can't catch these cats. I mean, even if you catch them, they just hate you. You know, they just all claws, and there's no way they're going to sit on your lap and curl up like a happy cat. But out there, since I've been here this time, there's one little kitten, and when I say little, it is clearly probably about 5-6 weeks old. I mean, it's tiny, and it looks a bit hungry as well. But for some reason, it's not scared of me. I'll open the door, and all the other cats will run away, but the kitten will surprise me, come into the house, you know, rubbing up against my leg, you know, looking for the bag of food that I got down there. And it's quite interesting, really. Now, you know, I don't know whether or not he must be born in a house or something, but he must be living somewhere else. But it's amazing how they, you know, you can have a set of cats and they like you, and other sets of cats that are just scared of absolutely everything. See what he's doing. Spotted me. See that? Basically, the next move for that cat, if I stayed there much longer, would be to run away. Oh my god! We got the possum. Let's get the possum. Now the possum is like a really stupid cat. Mark my word, really stupid cat. Now to show you how stupid the possum is, I'm going to try this. If I open the door quickly enough, but then don't do anything, it might stay there. Completely stupid. See that? Stupid. I was sat there completely, the door was wide open. I was just standing there. The moment I tried to shut the door, any movement, any sound, you when I whispered, he heard me. I mean, all I want to do is be its friend, but you know, animal instinct. Anyway, so when you marry me, you get to play with the possums and talk to an idiot all day. Okay.